Welcome back to Wrestling World. So today we'll be diving back into the Fiend vs. Randy Orton storyline because this week's segment actually gave us a lot to discuss and speculate about. So let's get right into it. The segment starts off as an ordinary interview between Randy Orton and Kayla Braxton. Randy Orton explains that he doesn't know what happened last week, but what he does know is that Alexa Bliss had a part to play in it. They show a recap of Randy Orton coughing up that black liquid from the week prior. But before the interview can continue, Alexa Bliss jumps on screen. Alexa Bliss is back in the circle inside the Firefly Funhouse, and it looks like she's continuing to do everything she can to bring the Fiend back. She whispers, "Bring him back," several times before showing Randy Orton another scary sight. We then get a reveal of a possessed Randy Orton on screen, speaking and sending a message to the real Randy Orton. The possessed Randy Orton had this to say to Randy Orton: "Randy, this doesn't end on your terms. Soon you will come face to face with everything you have ever done." And he closed the warning off by laughing while Randy Orton started to cough again. So just a quick 2 to 3 minutes of content with this segment, but it provided a lot to really think and discuss. Let's start off with Alexa Bliss. We first saw Alexa sitting in that circle a few weeks ago, and it appeared like she was doing some crazy things in order to get the Fiend back. Well, this week was no different. She's still in that circle, giving it everything she's got, trying to find a way that works to bring him back. Then we had the possessed Randy Orton speaking to Randy Orton and issuing him that warning. This is where the interesting part begins. Obviously, this character was using Randy Orton's physical appearance, but it wasn't actually Randy Orton speaking. So who was the real person issuing him that message? Well, we have 3 main obvious suspects. That's Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, and maybe even the Fiend himself. All 3 of them really have a good case behind the warning to Randy Orton. Firstly, Alexa Bliss. Was that Alexa's words coming through the possessed Randy Orton? It definitely makes sense if it was. Obviously, Bray Wyatt and The Fiend are MIA right now. They're supposed to be gone, so it doesn't make sense for them to be speaking with Randy Orton. It's much more likely that it was still Alexa Bliss speaking with Randy Orton. She just used Randy Orton's own appearance just to scare him some more. We know Alexa Bliss's character has a lot of unusual powers and abilities, so it is realistic for her character to have this ability to magically morph into someone else. Like a lot of fans have pointed out, this storyline just feels like a movie when it comes to things like that. You have characters literally talking on other superstars' appearances just to mess with them and haunt them some more. This is not the usual stuff we usually see in WWE, so it does make it feel quite special and stand out compared to the rest of the show. Let's get into the second opinion, Bray Wyatt. So like we said, Bray Wyatt is supposed to be gone and missing in action. But what if this was a unique way of somewhat bringing Bray Wyatt back, having him speak to Randy Orton, but having it done in a unique way and fitting way for the character? The lines that possessed Randy Orton said and even the laughing at the end of the warning definitely gave off a strong Bray Wyatt vibe. It definitely feels like it could have been Bray Wyatt behind those words for sure. Lastly, the Fiend. Could that have been the Fiend's spirit or persona reaching out and talking directly to Randy Orton? That's another great idea as well. We have never heard the Fiend's character speak. We've only heard him laugh and scream at times. So what if this was also a unique way for the Fiend himself to directly speak with Randy Orton? That makes sense as well. So the whole idea of this possessed Randy Orton message was very intriguing because it literally could have been any of the 3 behind those words, Alexa, Bray, or the Fiend. But if we have to truly pick one to go with, then we'll say it was Alexa. Alexa seems to be fully in charge of haunting Randy Orton right now, so it makes the most sense if it was her. But let's get on to the other interesting part, and that's what the possessed Randy Orton said. Don't skip over what the possessed Randy Orton said, because it could have been a teaser for their WrestleMania match stipulation. That version of Randy Orton specifically said that Randy Orton will come face to face with everything he has ever done. Sounds familiar? It sounds like WWE could be hinting at another version of a Firefly Funhouse match for this year's WrestleMania. We saw John Cena come face to face with everything he's ever done at last year's WrestleMania, where Bray Wyatt took him through a crazy trip down memory lane in that Firefly Funhouse match. It was a great storytelling match and fun to see, but it received mixed reactions from fans because it was advertised as a match between the two of them, and they never really fought at all. The Fiend just appeared and basically pinned Cena. So that was the criticism for that match. But the Firefly Funhouse match can be fixed, and it looks like they will be giving it another go. The main issue though is that WWE can't really make it fully cinematic this year. Remember that this year's WrestleMania will have nearly 20,000 fans in attendance. You don't want to have 20,000 fans in the arena looking at a screen for the whole match. That doesn't sound good at all. So maybe we'll have some sort of combination of cinematic match and ordinary match, since there will be a live crowd there. Maybe the match starts off like the Firefly Funhouse match from last year. Randy Orton is forced to revisit every single big decision he's ever made throughout his career. He goes through Bray Wyatt's entire mental breakdown in the Firefly Funhouse, and then they move the action to the ring and finish it up there. This is possible because WWE has done this in the past, and it literally was for a match between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. They started in the Wyatt house and then they brought the fight back to the arena, so something just like that would definitely be possible for this year's WrestleMania. Start it off in the Firefly Funhouse and then bring it into live action. That seems like a good plan. With this entire feud having that horror movie sort of vibe to it and feeling to it, The Fiend deserves to get a cinematic, movie-like appearance for his return. Like we've been saying for months, him just randomly appearing behind Randy Orton in the ring will not be the massive return that we're all waiting for. By this point, nearly 3 months after his disappearance, we're expected to see The Fiend come back in this massive, film-like scene. Remember that fire that has been a constant theme throughout this feud, dating all the way back to 2017. Fire took the Wyatt family house down, and fire took The Fiend down. We'll have to see if that theme of fire will continue, and if The Fiend will be reborn from the fire. What better way to bring him back than to use what took him out? Alexa Bliss even had those candles in the Firefly Funhouse a few weeks ago, so the fire theme is still lightly involved. It's safe to say that we will see The Fiend and Randy Orton face off at WrestleMania in a special Firefly Funhouse sort of match. The only thing that remains unanswered is The Fiend's return. How will he return, and when will he return? Those are the questions we still have to wait on. Either way, it's going to be exciting to see what else WWE can come up with to buy some time until The Fiend's return. But this week's segment was perfect and left a lot of room to discuss and speculate about. But what are your thoughts on what's going on between Randy Orton, The Fiend, and Alexa Bliss? Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.